Among Asian archerfish, it's the biggest that gets the most food. And they have an extraordinary method of catching prey. They fire a powerful jet of water at their target. The best shooters will grow quickest. With food scarce, there's a race among small fish to master the water jet technique. But it's difficult to perfect. A fish must adjust its jet based on the prey's size and distance, and then compensate for the way light bends as it passes through the water surface. Getting it right can take hundreds of attempts. But there is a way to shortcut the learning process. A youngster can seek out a larger archerfish. It will stick close to the sharpshooter, spending its days studying the master's technique. When they part company, the young fish will resume his search for food. Somehow, in a way not yet understood, a young fish can imitate the adult's aiming and firing technique and shortcut the need to practice. Unfortunately, becoming a sharpshooter is only half the story. There's another reason why big fish get the lion's share. They're bullies. But armed with this newfound skill, a young fish's future will be brighter.
Life began in the water. It looked across the boundary between wet and dry and saw dinner. Some species evolved legs from their fins and became land animals. Others, like this archerfish, found a way to bridge the distance between water and land while still staying wet. Archerfish spit water in a high-pressure stream through the air, knocking prey from its perch. Pretty clever, right? They live in the estuaries of Southeast Asia, where mangrove trees stand knee-deep in brackish water. It's the perfect arena for a deadly game of hide-and-seek. But this fish has more than just good aim. Depending on the distance to its target, the archerfish can calibrate, changing the shape and speed of its spit. A series of experiments at Wake Forest University measured the force of that spit on impact. The spitball on the left has further to go, but it still packs the same punch. That's because its tail end catches up to the front on contact. Like an archer pulling a bowstring, the fish judges the distance, makes a few calculations, and lets it fly. You might say it's using water as a weapon. But wait a minute. That kind of sounds like tool use, which among scientists who study evolution is a big deal. Because we used to think that you needed a big, complicated brain, more like a human brain, to use tools. And like all fish, this archer has no neocortex, that outer layer of the brain where functions like higher reasoning and memory live. In other words, this fish has less of a brain than we do, but in a way, it's incredibly smart. But how smart? That's what one Oxford scientist wanted to know. She asked, can an archerfish tell one human face from another? In her lab, she trained an archerfish to expect food whenever it spat at the image of this one face. See, facial recognition is another of those abilities you're supposed to need a neocortex for. When she showed the fish a series of other faces, nothing. But when that familiar face appeared, bingo. In spite of its tiny brain, it knew the face. We humans have used our brains as the baseline for intelligence. If you don't have our hardware, you can't do what we can do. But that idea is evolving. The archerfish and many other animals, it turns out, have found their own ways to be smart.
While some use vicious weapons to dispatch prey, others employ the finesse of a marksman. The archerfish uses a water pistol. It makes a gun barrel by pressing its tongue against a groove in its mouth. It closes its gills to force out the water. It's accurate up to 2 meters. This expert in ballistics even allows for the curving of the jet through gravity. And adjusts for the way light bends at the boundary between water and air, which appears to shift the position of its target. By some amazing computation, it changes its firing angle to compensate for this optical illusion.